international admissions here at the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law. And today we've invited back a recent LLM graduate to talk a little bit about her experience, not just in the LLM program, but in pursuing optional practical training, OPT, and preparing to sit for a US bar exam. I know this is a question that we get a lot from prospective students kind of about that process and what the opportunities will be. So we wanted to take some time to talk with someone who's just been through it. As you can see, we've set this up as a meeting rather than a webinar because we really do want to hear from you with your questions. So I invite you to raise your hand or put a message in the chat. We're going to do our best to save some time for questions at the end, but we'll also try to answer questions as we go. So please don't hesitate to ask those questions. If we can't get to your question today, we will do our best to follow up with you after. I know we have just about 30 minutes. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host Anuj, who is going to moderate the discussion today.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for arranging this, and Mithra, thank you very much for sharing some of your time. I know we are really running short of time. I have a ton of questions, so I'll get right to it. Essentially, let's focus on OPT. Mithra, so going back a couple of years when you started thinking about an LLM, how early on did you start considering an OPT? So that's question one. And question two would be, what is the kind of support that UNH Franklin Pierce provided?
So hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Let me just jump into the answer real quick. So I obviously, when I first was looking at LLM options, I was thinking of writing the New York bar exam. And the New York bar exam was not until like it takes place only in July and in February. So when I first joined, I looked at the timeline and I wanted to attempt the July New York bar exam. And I thought that was like a 2-month gap. So that's when I started thinking about maybe I should also get a OPT job, because when you write the bar exam, there's also like it takes almost a year for you to finally get admitted. So, but when you look at the visa timeline, that timeline does not work. So you have to start considering an OPT job for that year because you cannot just stay within the country. So really, as I was considering the New York bar exam is when I started looking at OPT. How early did I start my job search process was probably sometime in the second half of my LLM. When during the January break is when I really started like looking at like job applications, because and that's enough time, because even if you look at your opportunities and if you look at if you start applying for jobs earlier than that, you're probably not going to get a role, because these people, they want to hire you and they want you to be immediately available to work, and the maximum they would be willing to wait is probably a month or two. So it's not that useful to immediately start in your first semester. So I would say like start considering looking for jobs towards the end of your LLM program.
Okay. But these insights, how did you gain this? Like people want immediate hires, stuff like that.
Through experience. I did start applying very early on, and then I would just get rejections based, and the reason for rejection would be like, well, we need someone to work ASAP, and we cannot wait 6 months until you can finish this semester and come to work with us. So yeah, this is just my experience.
And what was the role of UNH Franklin Pierce in this? Like, how does?
Yes, definitely. We have a career services office, and I worked for the career services office as well. And something that I did was when I started my job search, I approached the dean of career services, and I just took his help to see like how is the job market for the LLM students, and I also took his help for like drafting my resume, drafting my cover letter. Like it was great help because he personally like tracked everything that on my CV and like made corrections and how to present it, because this is something I realized that when you in the way you draft your CV is very different from how you present it in in India as opposed to US. So he helped me go through that process and like to draft my cover letter and draft my CV for like the American setup, which I think really helped me a lot. So that, and also he did tell me, like, he helped me broaden my job search, because when I initially started, I was looking at just like trademark lawyer or trademark associate, which just like was my experience back in India. But he was like, you're starting afresh in the US, so you need to broaden your job search, the terms. So that's when so Dean Sirota, he helped me, like, he actually sent me like job postings, which was more non-legal but also related to my IP experience, where he was like, look at brand protection, brand strategy analyst. And that's how I ended up finding my IP analyst role in TikTok, which is not a lawyer's job, but it was more towards legal policy, where I can apply my IP LLM knowledge in the role perfectly. So definitely, I think I learned to have a broader scope while searching for jobs through the career services office. And also I did work for the CSO. So it was basically my job to find jobs and update our website, which was extremely convenient because it felt like I was getting paid to do a job search. So, you know, I just found this role in that process.
So you mentioned TikTok. I mean, it's one of the hottest companies, right? So I'm curious.
Very
yeah, I mean, for whatever it's worth, but what was the kind of work that you did? And I mean, could you tell me what a day in your life was then?
Well, TikTok was very exciting. I loved my role there. I was basically an IP analyst. So I would and I was under the legal policy operations. So not a lawyer, but legal policy. So we would like assist the moderators in like IP related user complaints, because so IP is more of a legal side than fixed policy. So we would help the moderators assess IP complaints and make a decision. We would also collaborate and work with companies like entertainment companies like Disney, NBC, like Sony, sometimes even like music artists team. Like we worked with Taylor Swift's team, we worked with Kris Jenner's team to help them like resolve IP related problems on the platform. And obviously being from legal policy, we would write the IP policies the basic IP policies that the company would follow, that the moderators would basically follow in more straightforward situation. And we would also like look at the IP laws and the new developments and the new case laws, and we would keep on updating the internal policies. It was a lot of fun. No, it was a lot of fun. It's because like you get so many unique situations every day, and it's like you're just, it's very creative because you're not only looking at policy, but you're also doing your own research, and everyone's just for some reason scared to take IP actions because they don't know the subject matter, so they're always like running to you. So I think it was really exciting, and obviously getting to like talk to someone from, say, the team of Blackpink or the team of Taylor Swift, very glamorous. And the company culture too.
I'm out of date with this. So these references I have no idea. But I'm presuming they're cool people.
Pop stars, okay. Yeah, cool people. And obviously, like the company culture was also great. Like we would always we would celebrate all the festivals, and I was also part of the Asian affinity group there, so I was also involved in I would host like a Diwali festival, or I don't know, whatever that we do. It's fun, like, yeah.
And now when you look back, do you find your LLM helped you perform like in a professional manner?
Yeah, absolutely. Because since it's not a purely legal role, we had a lot of people in my team from different backgrounds. So people either come in through like media or like a brand protection background. So like being someone who has like IP knowledge, I feel like it gave me a lot of importance in the team, because when new issues pop up, because when niche cases or edge cases pop up, they look to you as the person to find the solution for, because you do have that extra knowledge that they probably didn't go to school for. So I think it translates directly like well into the role, because subject matter knowledge is highly important.
Okay. And I don't know how you'd compare the two, but say working in India and now working in West Coast TikTok. Any particular differences that really stood out for you?
A lot of differences. It was quite the opposite, actually. I loved my job as a trademark attorney, but I felt like it was probably because I worked as a trademark attorney during COVID. It was very limited. We would just like draft memos, draft up decisions, file for applications and stuff. It was really interesting, but also it got a little bit monotonous. Whereas in the job and TikTok, it's like you're not really limited to certain actions. You're just like you're everything that relates to IP, that relates back to your company is your job. So obviously it's a lot more broader in that sense.
Yeah.
Something that was a little bit tricky when I first joined TikTok was that when you are a trademark lawyer, you're given a side and you pick a side and you fight for that side. And you even if that side is wrong, you have to try your best to prove it. But in my role in TikTok, it was tricky because like you have even like regardless of what the facts are, you have to choose the solution that protects the company. So, even if you think one side is right, if that side is going to potentially expose the company to like legal risk, you're not supposed to take that side, which was something that I found hard. And a lot of times when I would make decisions, my manager would be like, no, this is not going to do. Like, you have to think about this only, not what's right. And I was like, okay. So that's definitely like taking a more neutral stand as opposed to sticking to a side was something different.
Okay. And coming back to your plans of the New York bar, right? So you wrote it and you did quite well. But how did you prepare for this? So, I mean, you're doing multiple things, right?
Yeah.
So from January of the year, you're preparing for the New York bar, you're searching for jobs. How do you even go about it?
It was complicated, but I don't know. It's I guess time management. But the straightforward strategy for New York bar is that I would tell students is like invest in a bar prep course because you cannot do it alone, especially given that we are not JD students. We don't study the subjects.
Yeah.
But I took a few of the bar exam subjects. Like I took evidence law, I took wills and trusts in school. But even after taking that, the bar prep content is very narrow and it's different. So it's like definitely when you budget for your LLM, factor in a bar prep course. Like at least this is a max probably. It's like you like factor in maybe $3,000 towards your bar prep course, but you will get discounts through your college. Me and my friends personally, we all took Themis only because they were offering an LLM Advantage course, which so basically they give you a portion of the bar prep that you can do well before the JD students start. So with that, and then after you graduate, when you do the actual bar prep course, just and they have like all the day-to-day study material just listed on there. If you just stick to that to the T, like brute force through the bar prep, I think it's pretty easy to crack. So yeah, definitely invest in a bar prep course and just be true to yourself, go through that content, and you will be easily able to crack it. And also another bar related strategy that I thought of when I was recently, a bunch of my friends passed the New York bar exam as well. So when we were talking, this is something that we thought about. If you have the flexibility to choose, so mostly when LLM students come to the US, they're either with the California or they write New York bar exam. These two are the popular jurisdictions. I would say if you have the option to not write the California bar exam, don't write it, write New York first, because it's definitely, so California has 280 of pass marks, and New York, I think it's 265 or something. And California is not a UBE state, where New York is a UBE state.
Just before we get to UB, I mean, could you just tell
me? Yes, I am so sorry. So UBE is Uniform Bar Exam, and there are a bunch of states that come under the Uniform Bar Exam system. So if you write one of those bars, and if you score high enough, you can transfer your scores to the other bar exams. Which is why New York, if you pass New York, it will potentially open up a lot more other states, so it's a lot more flexible that way. And every time someone in their first attempts California, they're not able to crack it. And then they write the New York again and they easily crack it. So I would say first write New York, get that bar admission, and then maybe look into transferring the score through other states. And then if you still really need it, write California, because California has its own system. It doesn't open up other opportunities. So that's just a strategy that I think is really useful to attempt New York first, because by then you already would have studied for one bar and you have all that knowledge, so that becomes more easy. So I just thought that was a useful thing to know while considering which bar jurisdiction to pick.
Okay, so two follow-ups here. One is, so when you decided to write the New York bar, your courses were, you had a discussion with the UNH team, right? Saying that this is my goals and they suggested these courses?
Yeah, so before I even came to the US to take the course, I received an email from Sarah asking like if I was considering writing the New York bar exam, and all the things, like it was a list of like the overview of things that I would need to do. So that was helpful. And then once we came here, we did have a person dedicated to helping us with the bar prep and the bar admission and all of that. So we learned about all the subjects that were compulsorily needed to be qualified to give the bar exam. So that way I learned that so that's how I knew that I had to take evidence law, I had to take wills and trusts, and ethics is a subject that you have to take. If you are considering Massachusetts bar, and if you're Indian, it's fine because we're common law country. But if you are outside of India or civil law country, I would just say you have to know constitutional law. So you have to take that as a subject when you're doing the LLM.
Okay. And the second question was, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Can I just add to that? Is that okay? So I want to just add, Mithra, I think that was a really great overview of kind of how we help students. I want to highlight that our LLM programs are not like bar prep programs, right? We are specialized LLMs in intellectual property and commerce and technology, but there is a pathway for students who are interested in sitting for a US bar exam to follow that pathway. And so what we have done, I think even since Mithra's time, is we do have an academic success program, and the team there will support students to make sure they're taking the required classes. And so we actually, in the summer months before students even arrive on campus now, we're holding a meeting with them to go over all of the requirements, make sure they know, what classes they would have to take to be eligible for the New York bar. And then as they start to pick out their classes, they're meeting with an academic advisor and our academic success program and even career services to kind of pull that all together to make sure that they're taking the classes that they would need, and that there's some support there as they move through just, the application to sit for the bar. We have the academic success program that will make sure that they know what they need to do to get through that and meet the deadlines.
Okay, that's quite helpful. Yeah. And Mithra, the second question was with the New York bar. So preparing is one, but there are also procedural aspects, right? Like certain documents you need to send. Anything that you want to point out that was painful or just takes time just by the nature of it?
The only thing that it was a big process, especially for New York, to get so you have to do something called even before you apply for writing the exam, you have to complete certain foreign educated attorney evaluation. So I would just say I cannot explain the whole thing over this call, but I would just say as soon as you as soon as you're thinking about applying to an LLM in the US, start looking at that as well, because that's something that you have to finish before you even get to the US to save a lot of headache, especially getting the good standing certificates from your local bar and all of that. That's something that I still struggle with. But I'm just saying that, like, just look into the foreign educated attorney evaluation even before you come to the US and get that over with so that you can easily apply for the bar.
Okay. All right, so actually we're doing good for time. If there are any questions, then please send it through chat or raise a hand. I have a couple more questions left, Mithra, but these are not really technical questions. One was more about your time at UNH. So I visited there and it struck me, one of the things that really struck me about it was how safe it was. I mean, that's just, it just made an impression.
Yeah.
Was this something that you considered, or did this make an impact on your LLM experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was, first of all, Concord is super safe. It's super cheap. That had a massive impact on my LLM.
Yeah.
It's really safe. It's cheap. And if you want to have fun, like there's always long weekends. It's easily accessible to Boston, to Portland, Maine, Portsmouth. There's a lot of things to do. But when you're in such a challenging program and you're like having big ambitions, you want to study for the bar, you want to work, you want to like look for jobs. I think Concord is the perfect place to just like be in the zone and like not worry about getting mugged or worry about like paying high rents and it's the place to really focus on your studies and also have fun when you want to have fun. There's not many distractions and it is very safe. Me and my roommates, we were really bad at locking our door, but we never had anything stolen. The only threat that the students had once was when someone spotted a black bear in the park, but that wasn't really a threat. It was more of something that was exciting. So
yes.
Concord's great.
Okay.
Just pack winter clothes though, because it gets really cold.
Yeah.
Sorry, just another thing that I really wanted to mention that was crucial for me in my OPT job was I mean, I'm not old enough or wise enough to give advice, but I am going to. Like people, you will constantly hear people say like start networking, like network, but like you will be networking. There's a lot of networking opportunities that you will be given. But the most important thing that helped me was like start networking with your friends and your professors, because they're like the closest and the most reliable circle and your biggest support system that you will have through this process. So like I would just say like not to like garner fake friendship or anything, just be open-minded. Don't stick to like a smaller group and just be friends with everyone, including your professors. Because I did get a lot of referrals from friends who had already gotten jobs, or like professors who were looking out for me, who thought, who knew me and who thought I would be a great fit for a role, because these are the people who are well connected in their field. Like my first interview, I got it through a friend of mine from his law firm that he got a job with. So definitely that's something like networking, but with your friends, and start with your friends and with your professors, and collaborate and work with friends who have the same goal as you, like study for the bar with them, like do your job search for them, exchange job postings with each other, and that will definitely give you a big boost. Like my friend and I would share interview notes with each other. Like we would give each other the questions and the answers that we gave in interviews, and that really helped each other. So I think that's something that's something that's really useful and accessible that you can do to boost your OPT job search.
Okay, so this might seem a bit silly, but when you say network, what does that mean? Like in the sense that, give me a practical example of, say, networking with faculty.
Well, in like the strictest, most professional sense, networking is just an event, or like when you add people on LinkedIn and you DM them saying like, hey, I'm happy to connect with you, I am so and so. When you introduce yourself to someone who can potentially who can potentially be a resource of some sort, is networking. So in law school, there will be a lot of networking, like diversity programs where they bring in a lot of law firms, and they make the students meet the people from the law firms, so so they can get to know you, so that maybe later when you're looking for a job, you can reach out to that law firm and be like, hey, we met on this networking event. So it's basically just making friends, but in like a professional sense, for a professional reason.
Okay,
that makes sense.
I think, and just to add to, I think this is really fantastic advice, Mithra, and I know our Dean of Career Services would be thrilled to hear you saying it. And he actually is part of our international student orientation. Career Services actually comes to that. To talk about the importance of networking and how to go about it effectively, how it's done, professionally, and how we do it here in the US. So career services is stressing that from day one with students and working with students throughout. And actually, coincidentally, today, at the same time that we're having this chat, our LLM students are in their foundational American Legal Process and Analysis class. And the professor for that class is the Dean of Career Services, and he's invited back today several recent graduates to kind of share their experience about finding employment in the U.S. and how they went about it, and different tips. So facilitating those opportunities to network and connect. As Mithra said, the law school will host a number of events throughout the year to give students some additional opportunities. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary, and as part of that, we had a huge alumni student networking event, absolutely filled our cafe space, our Jerry box. And then we separately, for our international students, did a breakfast for just international students and international alumni so that they could have the opportunity to connect and network with one another. And it was amazing to see some of the connections that were made. I think our students who are here from India this year ended up spending the entire day with our alumni from India, who then brought them to the big party on Saturday night, the big gala that was happening. So Mithra's absolutely correct about forming those relationships, to really be genuine about it, and to just get involved while you're here, because as she said, the people you're in class with will, their networking they become your friends, but they will help with your career as well. And so lots of opportunities to get involved in different student organizations that are for LLM and JD students.
Okay. All right, barely enough time for one question. But I don't want to put you in a spot, but what would be one of your most favorite memories or experiences at UNH Franklin?
Oh, there's so many. But I think my favorite thing about being in UNH was the fact that the international students, especially, we were given a space to sort of express ourselves. We were constantly organizing our cultural events and our student seminars, where we were given the space to talk about our culture and even political stuff that we were concerned about. And I think doing that was my favorite part. And obviously, I have to mention APALSA, which me and a bunch of international students and JD students co-funded, which is the Asian Pacific American Law Student Association, which was a sort of an affinity group that we created for Asian Pacific students on campus. And it almost felt like it gave me a new family at UNH. We were a tight-knit group, and that was also one of my favorite parts of being at UNH Law, the fact that we had a space to do that and to create that sense of community for ourselves.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like you had a good time.
Mithra,
yeah,
those seminars have continued. And so, 2 years on, APALSA is going strong. Those seminars are fantastic. And they just the other week, the students, they did a fashion show to show clothing from around the world. Which was really, I wasn't able to be here. I was traveling, but I heard it was really incredible. I saw some great pictures. And then next week, they've decided to do an event focused on food from around the world. So inviting our international students to bring a dish to share. And I'm sure there'll be some American goodies there as well.
Wow.
So those have continued, and it's been great. And then, of course, in just a few weeks, we do our special Thanksgiving meal for international students, which is always a really special gathering.
Yeah, I missed that. So I think that's my favorite part about UNH.
Okay. I think we sort of just out of time. I can't see any questions in chat, but you can always get in touch with Sana.
What we'll make sure to kind of share this recording. I would certainly invite people to reach out to me as well. Mithra talked a little bit about networking. We've done some other webinars on that topic and written a few articles in partnership with our career services office. So please reach out if you have questions about that. Similarly, when it comes to preparing for the New York bar exam, we have some resources that we can share for that as well. So I definitely invite you to reach out. I will very quickly put my email in the chat here for those who are still on with us. me do that. And I would just thank you, Mithra, for being with us today. It was so nice to see you. It was 2022 that you graduated, so not that long ago, but so much has happened since then. And so it was nice to see you and have you here, and really appreciate you sharing your experience. You know, you've been in the shoes of perspective as a prospective student before, and know what the questions are. And I think it's really helpful for students who are thinking about pursuing their LLM to hear from someone who successfully went through it, and to hear that story. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, Anuj. It was nice
Of
meeting
course.
you as well.
Like, very nice. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day or great evening. Bye.